You've got issues with Arabica are insect damage. In India, we've got the white stem borer for Arabicas. We've got the short hole borer for Robustas. We've got some red stem borer, which isn't all that terrible, but white really decimates the Arabica crops if it's not taken care of. And the only way you can really control it is by some very strong pesticides, which most of them are banned. So, you can't really use them anymore.
Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Leah Safar, and we are talking about the Indian coffee industry and specifically future-proofing the Indian coffee industry or the production of coffee in India. In this episode, we're going to be talking about the current situation and challenges of growing coffee sustainably in India. So I reckon, Akshay, we're going to hand this over to you, sir, and you can just talk. What are the challenges ahead of us?
No, I guess first we've got to decide what sustainability means. What is sustainable, right? Now, because I'm from this region, I wouldn't say I've grown up here full time. I spent my holidays here with my grandparents. So 99% of my memories of the coffee farm is extremely positive. And it's the environment, right? For me, it's basically the feeling when you first come here. But that's been changing when with all the farms moving to Robusta, opening up shade. A lot of the native trees are being taken down. So I guess we started looking into sustainability mainly around environmental sustainability, really. But coming from a very data-focused job, I mean, working in tech for a while, so it's all black and white and all about data and all of those things. So we started sort of delving into why don't people care as much about environmental sustainability as we do, or other people in the cities do, or in the West does. It's mainly because of lack of economic sustainability, right? So environmental sustainability is a luxury. Now, if we start working towards some degree of economic sustainability, then environmental sustainability comes with it after some time, but we may be too late if we wait for that at the moment. So we've got to work on both of these things together, which is where South India Coffee Company comes in. So of course, we're not going to solve all problems. Now, fundamentally, from an economic perspective, a lot of the growers have been moving to Robusta because a perceived cost of cultivation is lower
than Arabica.
Than Arabica. Arabica is a bit more hands-on in terms of leaf rust control, pest control. We've got India probably has the most diverse forms of leaf rust anywhere in the world.
Wow!
So probably 50 different variants. So every year there's a new leaf rust resistant variety. Next year it loses some of that resistance. So as you know, with leaf rust, we have vertical resistance and horizontal resistance, and most leaf rust resistant varieties have vertical resistance with limited horizontal resistance. So as the rust starts mutating, then the plant slowly loses its ability to fight the rust. Now, sorry, I was getting carried away. So anyway, so basically you've got
Folks, our first on-demand workshop, How to Become a Coffee Consultant, is now available for you to learn at your own pace for just €50, and it comes with a certificate upon completion. Go to mapitforward.coffee/workshops or click the link in the show notes for more details. Support this podcast by supporting our sponsors.
You've got issues with Arabica are insect damage. In India, we've got the white stem borer. For Arabicas, we've got the short hole borer for Robustas. We've got some red stem borer, which isn't all that terrible, but white really decimates the Arabica crops if it's not taken care of. And the only way you can really control it is by some very strong pesticides, which most of them are banned. So you can't really use them anymore. Or you basically have to send in people who have the experience to identify stem borer plants, and you uproot it and you burn it. So when we started looking after the family farm in 2017, we actually burned 68,000 Arabica plants from 2017 up to 2020. So it's practically having to replant the whole place. Robusta, on the other hand, does get affected by white stem borer, and you do see some plants suffering with a loss in crop, but you do not lose the plant. So from a pesticide leaf rust perspective, it's less intense. There's a perception that that Robusta is hardier. In some ways, yes. In some ways, no. The amount of work involved with the Robustas also is lower. So the amount of labor you need is lower. Now, India has a very. This would surprise quite a few people, but I think India is one of the few countries which has almost the highest wages for coffee workers. So our cost of cultivation is really high. Yes. So we're probably 2/3 that of Brazil, the last time I calculated. And we do not have any automation.
Can you give me some numbers? Like, what are you paying a picker?
Basically, the legal price for a daily wage for a worker right now, I think it's 400 rupees, 4 pounds equivalent. I'm not thinking in dollars. 4 GBP a day. And that is just the basics. And then normally as a farm, it costs us potentially about 5.5 a day, including transport. And most people don't work 8 hours. It's usually 6 hours, but then you pay them the whole day's wages. And this is what's happening in most farms.
So per day, they're making how many pounds?
So end of the day, they'd get 4 pounds for about 6 hours worth of work.
4 like pounds sterling?
Yes.
Yeah. So let's double that for. Okay. So I think I think in Hawaii that's probably, it's the US, so they're paying more, but
sorry, Lee, but here it depends on task as well. So since we have shade lopping goes up to 12 pounds.
Okay.
So when you have weed cutters, it goes up higher. So, your overall cost of cultivation goes up based on what you're doing on the farm.
Right.
Now, with the Robustas, your weed cutting costs come down. So the reason why people are also opening up their shade is because shade lopping costs are too high. Now, end of the day, you're looking at if you're doing our farm is 75 acres, and our cost of cultivation last year without capital investment was 62,000 GDP.
The reason I'm smiling, I just had a conversation with somebody. You're the first producer that's been able to tell me their cost of production. You're the first producer I've ever met that was able to tell me their cost of production.
So, again, without capital, but there are a few farmers in India who keep track. Yeah, so we're not that unique.
But just to give you an understanding, the majority of producers are not able to adequately calculate their cost of production. And that's a fundamental issue with our supply chain, is that if people don't know what their cost of production is, they don't really know if they're losing or winning. They assume that they're losing, and it's probably a good bet that they're losing. But to be able to clearly state your cost of production is something that's rare. Go ahead.
And our inflow last year was 52,000 pounds.
Wow.
So we were loss making 10,000. And now this is the best part. 2/3 of our revenue came from black pepper. 1/3 came from coffee.
Fantastic.
Right? And we've got 5,000 pepper vine on our 75 acres. And we've got 60,000 coffee plants.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So, it doesn't make sense.
That for me, the coffee is a hobby.
Yeah.
And I'm actually a pepper grower.
Yeah.
That needs to keep myself occupied by doing the coffee, because the pepper doesn't need that much work.
It's wild, isn't it? Like when you look at cafes as well, so the other end of the supply chain, what do you guys think the net profit margins are for a cafe?
It depends on where, right? It depends.
It's pretty standard. It's pretty standard across the world. because
If
they
they're
all
not
use
making-
the same model.
But in terms of rentals, salaries, again,
It all washes itself out. If rentals are really high, wages are very low. That's usually how it works itself out. Would it surprise you to know that the average net profit for a cafe is about 3%?
I'm not surprised, which is why I think most people would rather be just roasters roasting off place rather
Right.
than having.
They don't make that much either. Like once they have to get to huge volumes before they're making. The whole thing is, coffee, especially in the specialty line, it's quite a hobby. You can still make really great revenue, but to make any kind of profit is very difficult.
100%. I mean, which is why it's an economy of scale. And coming from tech, when we started discussing numbers, I said, I don't want to waste my time on this. These numbers make no sense. Why are we even doing this? Yeah. Why would I get my time doing this? I mean, seriously.
Yeah. It's something that when new clients come to me and they say, I want to live the easy life, I'm going to open a cafe. I'm like, sit down, let's have a conversation. Don't waste your inheritance. Just go back to your corporate job, because there's easier ways to make no money. There's way easier ways to make no money. And this is where, go ahead, Akshay.
Sorry, go on. No, like you said, it's economies of scale, right?
Totally. And this is where when we look at sustainability, it's the sustainability of we can grow coffee. Let's say we've figured out how to grow given all the challenges that there are, but having a sustainable business model, now we've got a problem. Like if we can't figure that out, if we can't figure out how to pay producers more, they are just going to grow peppers, and they are just going to grow mangoes, and they are just going to grow avocados.
Yeah, but that's a tough one, right? Now, see, for example, now our farm, because we've been working on it, it's not fully functioning, which is why it is where it is. But we've seen varied sort of farms from 1 acre farms to a few thousand acre farms, and they're all run so differently. For example, 1 to 10 acres, you have the families working on the farm, so cost of labor is lower except during harvest. They can drop their cost of production, but you don't really factor in their salaries, which they should be doing, but they're not doing. Now, but you could say that your profitability per acre, you could on doing commodity, and if it's a good commodity market, for Robustas can go up to about 400, with today's prices can go up to about 400 pounds per acre per year. Or even more if you're really pushing the plants. I mean, if you're really pushing it, really doing intensive drip irrigation, complete open cultivation, and it sort of looks like the plants in Brazil where there's just fruit and fruit
everywhere,
and leaves
everywhere.
And then you can sort of make potentially even 1,500 pounds profit per acre. But in general, a normal farmer who is following normal practices, it's between about 200.
We have a visitor, folks. We have a puppy that's joined the conversation, and it is fantastic. I think this is the perfect place to wrap up this episode. In the next episode, we're going to be talking about the difference between species and varietals, and we're going to talk about which are most suited for sustainable coffee production. And this one is going to blow your mind, folks. It's quite the opposite of what we have thought it is. And Akshay has a lot of opinions about this, and I can't wait to hear them. So join us for the next episode.
It's just an opinion. Take with a pinch of salt, yeah?
It is just an opinion. A full disclaimer will come in the beginning of the next episode. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. Thanks for tuning in, friends. There are 2 ways you can support this podcast. Firstly, become a paid member of our YouTube channel. Secondly, you can join our Patreon for as little as $3 a month. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video before you leave, and check the show notes for more information. Now, this is what you should check out next.